If you're moving to Lincoln this fall or winter, don't worry, you haven't necessarily missed the best time to move here. In fact, there are a couple of things I actually like about house hunting in Lincoln after the summer rush kind of calms down. But there's also a few things that could catch you off guard, especially if you've never owned a house through a Nebraska winter or visited or lived here at all. So if your move is happening between now and the middle of winter, let me show you what actually changes, what really doesn't, and then a few things I would want to know before I got here and started to unpack. So first, let's just talk about the housing market real quick. Spring and summer get a lot of the spotlight. You see more people moving, more houses coming on the market, people getting settled before school starts, planning around vacations and all of that. But once we get later into the year, some of that urgency can kind of start to come out of the market and die down a little bit. Well, that doesn't mean that every seller suddenly becomes desperate because it's November. In fact, a great house that's priced correctly can still get plenty of attention and go under contract, come off the market in no time. But depending on the year, time of year, the price range, the house, you might have fewer buyers competing with you. Seller's been on the market a little longer, or just more breathing room to make a decision. So the trade-off is that you may also have fewer houses to choose from. That is possible. And that's why I'd much rather look at what's actually happening with the kinds of homes you're trying to buy than make a blanket statement that fall is a buyer's market, because it just isn't that simple. So there's another thing I actually like about looking at houses later in the year, and that is that you get to see them without all the makeup on, so to speak. So, you know, in May, everything is green. Flowers are blooming, trees are full, the yard looks fantastic into June. Come November, well, there's the house. And honestly, that's still very, very useful. You can see the exterior differently. You can check out gutters and drainage and grading without everything being hidden by landscaping. And once the leaves are gone from the trees, you may get a much better idea of how much natural light actually comes into the house. So you're also looking at things like the furnace, insulation, windows, roof and gutters with winter right around the corner, instead of just thinking of those things as abstract, issues we'll deal with 6 months from now. I see that from experience too, because when I bought my own home a few years ago, I bought in the late spring and there was actually still snow on the roof right up until the day before closing. So I couldn't see what I was dealing with until it happened to melt just a couple of days before close. And then good, bad, or somewhere in between, at least I knew what I had. And that's one of those things that you learn as a homeowner. Every house has its quirks. It doesn't matter whether it's a century home like mine, a mid-century home, or something newer. Every house is going to teach you a few things about itself, but you got to pay attention. You learn how it handles really hot weather, how it handles really cold weather, where you need to keep an eye on things, and what maintenance makes a difference. So my HVAC system, for example, heating and cooling, is definitely what most people would consider old. But I have it looked at twice a year, and I keep up with the filters actually monthly. In the summer, I keep the condenser outside clean, and every spring and fall when the HVAC tech checks it out, I hear the same thing. Keep doing what you're doing. It's treating you well. It's got plenty of life in it. That's kind of my philosophy with my older house, and with a lot of homes. I mean, any home, if I take care of it, it'll take care of me. And that brings me to Nebraska winter. So this is one of those things that's actually hard to generalize, because our winters can vary quite a bit from year to year. I've experienced years where I'm still using my fire pit out back almost until the end of December. I've also had holidays that were surprisingly mild. A couple years ago, I got together with friends in the middle of December. It was like 55 degrees and humid outside, and we were able to spend some time outdoors. That's Nebraska too. So for me, January and February are typically when winter means business. And it seems like almost every year there's at least one stretch of what I call crackling cold. You walk outside and everything just feels different. It's usually in February, but for a week or so, we can get below zero, and sometimes it can be 30 or 40 below for a day or two with the wind chill. So if you are from somewhere warmer, you're gonna want that winter gear, a good coat, gloves, warm socks, long johns, scarves, you name it. Maybe you hadn't thought about those before or ever had them in your closet, but it's time now, isn't it? So Also, snow can really vary from year to year. Some years we don't get very much, and then there are years when we can see a storm that'll drop 8, 10, 12 inches or more. Or you get a winter where it's like every week or every other week, here's another really nice 4 to 6 inches. Oh, it's so pretty, it blankets the town, and oh, when it's fresh, yeah, it's beautiful. It's, you know, it's crisp, it's quiet, it's pretty, it's a winter wonderland. And February rolls around and all of those beautiful 4-inch snowfalls have been plowed and pushed everywhere. You're looking at these piles in parking lots thinking, are you ever going to melt? Well, sometimes it takes until March. So I wouldn't describe Lincoln as a place where you're just buried under snow for 5 straight months. That is not the case. That is not my experience. Now, we can also have snow pop up in April, and then it warms up again for spring. But you can have a mild December, and then January shows up and reminds you that yes, you do, excuse me, you do live in Nebraska. So if you're moving here from somewhere with a much warmer climate, the point isn't to be afraid of any of that. You just want to be prepared. So, and your house also needs to be prepared for it too. So when I'm looking at a home with somebody who's going to own it through a Nebraska winter and many to come, these are the kind of things that I think about. You know, how old is that furnace? What do those windows look like? If it's got a sprinkler system, has it been winterized? Is it easy to winterize? Do you know where all of your hose bibs are, your outside faucets, so you can picture those are tight and protected? Are the gutters clear? Are the downspouts extended? If you've got a fireplace, has it or the chimney been maintained? Do you own a snow shovel, or maybe 2? Any of those are not reasons to avoid a house or not buy it. It's just you don't want to think about it and know about it the first time when it's 12 degrees outside. And then there's the snow itself, and not just how much we get, but what happens in Lincoln after it falls. So Lincoln focuses its winter operations on major streets and routes, and then residential streets are cleared as those operations progress. So depending on the storm, there might also be parking restrictions so that crews can help get the streets cleared on one side or another. So where you live can make a little bit of a difference in, in how winter feels. So if you're off a major arterial, your daily routine may look different than if you're tucked back several blocks into a residential neighborhood. If you're buying somewhere with an HOA, another thing I'd ask, what does that HOA handle? Because some associations may take care of certain snow removal. A lot of times it's 2 inches or more when it falls. Others don't. So don't see HOA and just assume somebody else is going to shovel your driveway or your sidewalk. If you're buying a regular single-family home, you're generally going to be responsible for that sidewalk in front of your property to be cleared after it snows too. Actually, within 24 hours, I believe is the ordinance. And so think about it if you're looking at a corner lot. So just things to consider. You know, if you told me today, Ryan, we're moving to Lincoln sometime between October and January, what should we do? Well, here's where I would start. I'd start by learning the different parts of Lincoln before you need to buy, figure out what your realistic budget is, what the budget actually buys in those different parts of town, and then start watching the market. Have someone help you to know what's going on. Don't assume there won't be anything available just because it's November or December. Just watch intently at what actually comes up. And when you do find a house you like, don't just ask, do we like the kitchen? Do we like the neighborhood? Is there enough space? Really want to ask, are we ready to own this house through our first Nebraska winter and then all those successive seasons as well? So that's when I'd make sure I understand your heating system, windows, exterior, any winterization that needs to happen, what your snow responsibilities are for removal, and what getting in and out of the neighborhood is going to look like when weather isn't perfect. I also like to look at all the trees around and see what that's going to entail too, because those can get affected by ice and snow. So you just want to know ahead of time instead of learn it afterwards. But don't assume you've missed your opportunity just because you didn't get here in June, because people buy and sell houses in Lincoln all year long. The market just has a different rhythm once summer is over. So you may have fewer houses to choose from, yes. You may have a little more breathing room on the right one, also true. And you may actually get to see the house you're buying a little more honestly than you would when everything is green and beautiful in May or June. So now moving to Lincoln in the fall or winter isn't necessarily bad timing, it's just different timing. And different is good, right? You're gonna make it good. And if Lincoln is somewhere in your future and you've got questions about houses, neighborhoods, the market, just what it's actually like to live here and enjoy all the city has to offer, feel free to reach out. I'm Ryan, I live in Lincoln, I work here, and I help people bring a little more confidence and clarity to figuring out where they're going to live next, and that's whether you're moving from across town or moving here from somewhere else entirely. So you can text me or get in touch with me using information below. And if this helped answer some of your questions about moving to Lincoln later in the year, stick around, because I've got plenty more about living in Lincoln and moving here and living here coming your way. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.